Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Jason Hennessy. How are you, Jason?
It's doing so well, man. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's my honor. I'm so super happy to have you on the show, and I'm grateful that you took the time out to come on the show.
Hey, man, let's have a good one. We got holidays coming here, a lot of excitement happening. So, yeah, this is good.
This is great. Well, you know, we always like to kind of allow our guests to introduce themselves in their own words, and then we're going to go into the information together.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm Jason Hennessy. I am most importantly a father, a husband. You know, all the personal stuff, right? Always takes priority over all the business stuff. Got 3 beautiful children, 19, 17, and then 5. Been married 23 years. And I live here in Southern California. So that's the personal stuff. Professionally, I've been doing digital marketing with a core competency on organic SEO, search engine optimization, since about 2001. I work primarily with law firms, criminal defense law firms, personal injury law firms, firms that deal with mass torts. And I've got an agency called Hennessy Digital, and we're about 130 full-time employees.
Oh, beautiful. Amazing. That is great. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but I used to have a medical facility. So we worked with personal injury law firms a lot. So I have experience on, for many years, you know, providing all the legal stuff for cases like, for example, motor vehicle accidents.
Sure.
So slip and falls and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's our whole world. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Very competitive though, huh?
Oh, it's probably, especially from a digital marketing perspective, probably some of the most competitive keywords on the internet, basically. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a lot of margin, right? There's you have somebody pay $300 for a click to your website, which then turns into a $5 million case, right? So, it's all relative, I guess.
It's all relative. And what is the, like, if the keywords are very competitive, right? What are your thoughts on the long tail keywords?
Oh yeah.
Is that what you guys are targeting now more of, or are you still sticking with the high competitiveness?
You know, I think we kind of satisfy both. And I think historically people are conditioned to think that, you know, somebody's going to type in Miami car accident lawyer, right? And so that's what we refer to as like a very competitive head term. But when you look at the data and analytics, like there's not a lot of people that actually search like Miami car accident lawyer, right? There's so many different iterations of how they might come across that page. Yeah. They might just search for car accident lawyer and Google recognizes that they're in Miami, right? And they see that page. They might type in attorney. They might type in car accident lawyer near me. They might type in best car accident lawyer, right? So there's so many different ways that get somebody to a page that, you know, I think the attorneys that are so blindsided by like, oh no, I need to rank number 1 for Miami car accident lawyer. You know, sometimes we need to kind of educate them and let them see that there's a different way of thinking about this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now would you say in that type of industry, right, it would be harder to come up with long tail keywords, I guess?
No, it's actually, it's opposite. I think it's easier. You know, I mean, you know, a lot of times what we tell our clients to do is to listen to the calls and see like what people are saying and try to extract some of the questions that they're talking about, right? Document it. And then, you know, that becomes part of our content strategy is, you know, getting it directly from the source, from listening to the calls, right? And then developing like a good FAQ section on your website and just publishing a lot of content that satisfies the intent of addressing those questions.
And SEO is high intent, right? Anybody's on there searching, they need business.
Yeah, there's there's informational queries, there's transactional queries, right? So it just kind of depends, but you need to be satisfying, like, all of it. Yeah.
Of course. And, for me, to be honest, like I spent thousands over the years on SEO and I might have spent it in the wrong direction or something, but we tried, we wanted to be on first page. It felt like always a fight, it's a fight to be on the first page, and we'd drop it and we're fighting to be like, it was always a nerve-wracking thing every month, every week. And it costed a lot. And I don't know if we got the results. What do you feel about that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's the reason why I wrote the book that I wrote. It's called Law Firm SEO. And the true reason is because I was so sick of people coming to us where they've had a bad experience working with somebody else that did SEO, and maybe the expectations weren't aligned, or maybe they blatantly just got ripped off, right? I mean, it just kind of depends, but I really wanted to educate and empower attorneys so that they weren't getting ripped off from people like me, right? I really, truly wanted to educate them. And so I wrote a book. It's called Law Firm SEO. It's on Amazon. And regardless of if they work with my agency, if anything, they're empowered to make better decisions with digital marketing, and not like what you just said. I spent thousands of dollars on SEO and I really don't even know what I got. It's all nebulous, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. So that is a concern, right, in the market?
Big concern. Yeah. Because it takes time. SEO takes time, and it takes strategy.
It's a long game.
And it's very easy to confuse somebody that doesn't understand SEO. It's like, you got your canonical tags are broken and we got to fix the href line. I mean, so easy to talk in like this lingo, confuse somebody, and they call that like FUD, right? Creating fear, uncertainty and doubt, right? By talking a big word. And next thing you know, they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had all these problems. Well, can you fix these problems? Yes, I can. How much? $5,000 a month. Okay. And then, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, it's like, what am I paying here for? I don't even get this. Right. So
but that's great that you're doing that. You're providing value, providing awareness, providing education. Hey, pick up my book, get educated, then make decisions. Right.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So important. It's so important. So easy to get ripped off, like you said. I'm not sure if my personal experience was a rip off or not.
It might not be, right? It might not.
It might not be. It was just the experience, right? Like we were trying, I just remember it, but I did hear from them, like it's the most important thing. So being, in business and everything, and I like to trust what people say to me. And long term, I can see the benefit, but Facebook ads and those things, Google ads, like they're just a quicker result. When you compare to SEO and paid ads, what are your thoughts on that for a business if you had to make a decision?
I think it really depends on kind of like where you are in your business, right? So like if you're right out of law school, or if you're not even if you're a lawyer. I mean, if you're just getting started, SEO is going to take time, right? And so if you don't have a website that's been established, right, you're probably not going to get a quick result from SEO, right? So in those cases, I tell clients maybe experiment with pay-per-click first, right? Because you got to keep your lights on. And so, but each of them are different channels, right? And it's not like one or the other, right? If you're doing a pay-per-click campaign and you're generating like leads at a really good price and you're converting those leads, and so your cost per acquisition is at a good number and you're happy with it, hey, continue to leverage pay-per-click if that's working, right? Same thing with Facebook. If you're generating leads and the average cost per like acquisition is good on Facebook, well, again, continue to leverage that, and then just continue to, increase the budgets on what's working. Right. But at the end of the day, I think you should look at things holistically. So like you've got these big law firms that we work with, and they're spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars on TV, and they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on digital and on billboards, right? And radio, at the end of the day, like all of them kind of touch each other, right? Somebody might have seen a billboard and did a Google search and recognized the name because of your television commercial, right? So at the end of the day, you should really look at like, how much money are you spending in total on marketing all of the channels, right? And you divide that with how many new clients did you get as a result of that? And then now you know what is your total marketing, you know, your average cost to acquire a new customer with all of your channels, right? And so, you know, and then you could try to like tune into like each of the different channels, from SEO to pay-per-click to TV to billboards, right? But at the end of the day, you should be kind of looking at everything from a holistic point of view.
Makes sense. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, about the artificial intelligence with SEO. Sure. Like, have you researched that, or is that something that you're looking into, or what are your thoughts on that, on the artificial intelligence?
Yeah, we're actually experimenting right now with a site that we developed called proteinbars.com, where we're basically using AI to write articles on that website.
Yes.
And so far, you know, we're impressed on kind of what's happening with it.
Right.
But I don't think I would do this on like a lawyer's website, right? Where they can get, you know, disbarred, or they can get a bar grievance, right? You know what I mean? So I think it really kind of depends, but we are running some experiments right now just to kind of push the threshold to kind of see how well this performs using AI, and how Google kind of looks at it too. But I think, you know, that is certainly the future. For sure. Yep.
Yeah, it is. And when you're doing articles, for example, for SEO, do you follow, is there any kind of recommendation you can give someone when they're publishing articles, like do a specific number each day or do specific each week? Is there any kind of criteria of sort?
Yeah. So I think first you need a strategy, right? I think I see a lot of people fail where, you know, they're like, oh, is content still king? And, you know, is it important? And you say, yes. They're like, okay, great. Because I'm paying a blogger, you know, $75 to publish 4 blog posts a week. And I'm like, okay, well, what is she writing about? I don't know. I think she just gets in there and she creates a blog post. I'm like, well, that's not good. So I think, you know, typically how we go about it is we build like our content strategies using like an Excel spreadsheet where it's based off of research, and we know who we're targeting, and we know like what cases we're trying to generate or which clients that we're trying to generate. And then what we then do is we'll develop a content strategy. And so some clients will publish anywhere from 25 pages of content every month, all the way up to 400 pages of content a month, right? So it really depends, right? And the more aggressive that you are with your content strategy, you know, obviously the more success that you're going to have from an SEO perspective, if you're doing it right. I mean, if you're just doing it right. Yeah, if you're just paying somebody and they're plagiarizing articles from other sources and they're patching it together and putting it on your website, it's going to create a lot of damage for you. So you have to make sure that you're actually doing it right. You're internally linking pages together. You don't have pages that are competing with each other for the same term. You don't have duplicate content problems, right? There's a lot of like what ifs when it comes to content. Oh, so many. Yeah, so many.
Yeah. And I think that's so true because, you know, people tend to, especially in business, especially when they're starting out, to wear a lot of hats, right? And SEO, you know, get someone from Fiverr or get someone from Upwork, right? Is that kind of a mentality? Say, hey, you know what? Can you get me on first base? Yeah. First page. Yeah. Done. You know, no problem. Let me get started working. And that could jeopardize the business in coming months or years, right? Because that content is there. Yeah.
I was on a call with somebody recently who came to me and said, hey, I'm a little concerned because the attorney that owns the firm decided to go with this company that promised them that he would be able to get them in the local map packs like quickly, right? Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, tell me more. And he's like, well, we started working with them. And after about 2 months, like it was working. Like we were actually showing up in the maps. Right. And it was awesome. And that's fine. You know, but now it's been month 5 And now we lost all of our positioning and all of our locations for all of our maps. And I'm like, well, what were they doing? They're like, well, they're pretty secretive about what they're doing. And I'm like, okay. So we started to look at their Google My Business profile. And so I'm like, interesting. I'm like, for this listing, they created all these fake reviews, right? So they went in and they created a bunch of fake reviews, which is definitely something
Google.
that can get you banned, right? And it could even get you into trouble ethically as an attorney if people are creating fake reviews, right? So that's that, and then also like other things that they were doing too was that, you can see that there was a spike in the number of people clicking on driving directions, right? So they were using bots to go in to create fake user signals as well. To assume that people were like clicking to get driving directions, and all of a sudden they had nobody clicking on it. Now there's 2,000 people a day that are clicking get driving directions. So like it appeared as though they were trying to manipulate the algorithm in their favor. And what happened is Google just like, yeah, you guys are playing too much. We're going to basically penalize the site here. We don't trust you anymore. Right. So you have to be careful when people make these like promises,
of course,
because it could really jeopardize the integrity of your site.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of these episodes and these podcasts and this kind of material out there. And I always recommend people that, go to your podcast, go to these podcasts, listen to people, because there's some information that could save you hardship later, right? Because I found these conversations to be very open and just open, like they're not like scripted, so a lot of this information is coming out where it could bring that awareness that someone is trying to save a penny but destroying their name. Like you can't put a price tag on that, right? Let somebody else's mistake benefit you from making the same mistake. Absolutely. Do your education. For me, I suffered with Facebook. Like I had someone and he was doing ads. I would get an email saying, this ad has been declined, make this change and we'll republish it. So I would tell that guy, I said, hey, I got this. He'd be go, yeah, don't worry. That's normal. Facebook always rejects something. And then we just resubmitted, they approve it. I'm thinking, okay, let me just check it anyway. So I Googled it and I saw a whole bunch of information, people complaining about Facebook declining their ads. So I'm thinking, okay, it's true. That happened so long that they finally banned me. They said, no, like your onus is on you. It's your responsibility. Even if you had this person, because they're an admin, whatever, it still comes back to you. I'm sorry. So
of course it does. Yeah. And it's a shame,
it's
right?
Unfortunate. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Luckily we created an organic system. That's another conversation, but it could destroy a business if just that one mistake. If you don't have a backup, what do you do? So, if you get Google bans you or something, doing something like that you're talking about with someone.
Totally.
How do you fix that? Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes it's tough, right? Because like, for instance, all these fake reviews that they wrote and left, like it's super hard to get it. Like you just imagine when you get a negative review, how hard it is to get that removed. Now you have like 60 fake reviews that are on a profile. God. Like sometimes you're kind of handcuffed and there's not much you can do. Yeah,
you're handcuffed. That's for sure. Were you ever in employment or you were always in business?
Well, I think I was employed by the government when I was in the Air Force, right? And that's okay. They got you handcuffed there, So so I did 4 years in the Air Force, and that's where they told me where to live and where to sleep and what to wear, So I think that's the biggest form of kind of being an employee to the government. But then after that, I've always been more of like an entrepreneur. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And was your mindset always entrepreneur when you were growing up, like as a child? Like, did you think about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, 100%. So, I was the kid selling bubble gum out of my backpack and like.
Awesome, I love it.
Yep. And then, during lunch, in high school, ninth grade, going to the local pizza shop by the school. And instead of just enjoying my slice of pizza, looking around and thinking, man, like what a perfect location to have a pizza shop right by a school. I'm like, there's probably like 40 people in here right now, and they're all spending about $6 each, trying to do the math, so yeah, I've always kind of thought of business as like that, even as a young kid, for sure.
That's awesome. Any failures you want to talk about in business?
Lots of failures, man.
I love failures. So
yeah, I just
build you.
Yeah, I just posted an article on entrepreneur.com about how I failed. And this was with my my president, my COO. You could read or you can link to it, but it's like on Entrepreneur. I just went live today because I write for Entrepreneur and Inc. and a couple other magazines.
Beautiful.
But this was a story about, my COO like couldn't even like fit lunch into his schedule with his daughters. And so I'm like, how did that happen? I'm like, if your daughters have a day off, you need to rearrange your schedule. You don't need to be on every single Zoom call. You need to, and so he felt kind of obligated to be on this call and that call and this call. Right. And so that's why I kind of failed is, sometimes you just need to like change your schedule around to just not be at this meeting. And so I ordered him to take 3 hours off on Friday and make sure he has lunch with his daughters and enjoys the day, and, amazing. And so like, sometimes like, just you get into your day and there's meeting after meeting, and especially with Zoom, everything is so convenient now. Anyway, that's just like one example, but we fail all the time. One of the things we also did was, I like to tell this story is, we do a lot of work with law firms on websites. And so in one instance, like we made a human error and we forgot to put an extra digit of their phone number on a bunch of pages that we published. And so the client was aware. He's like, one of their clients reached out and said, hey, we tried to call you, but the phone number is not enough digits. And then the client called me up on a Saturday, all pissed off, like, what the heck? Why did you guys mess my phone number up? I can't imagine how much business we lost. How long has this been like this? And so that prompted us. We're like, hey, listen, we fell on our sword. It was an accident, human mistake. So sorry. We're going to get this fixed right away. But more importantly, the lesson was, how do we prevent this from happening in the future? And so we then wrote a bot that then goes out to every single client to check and validate, making sure that their phone number is accurate on every single page of their website, right? So as an employee or as an employer or as a human being, you're going to make mistakes, right? It's all par for the course, right? We're humans. But it's the lessons that you learned on how you can prevent yourself from making those same mistakes over and over again, right? Yeah,
definitely. So, and see, good bots come in handy.
Totally. In this case, it sure does. It saves me an ass chewing on a Saturday from a client. I don't look forward to those, right?
No one does. No one does. Yeah. No one does. And you mentioned entrepreneur, right? You write for it. Do you get pitched a lot to write about them?
All the time. Yeah. Cause it's not easy to get approved to write for some of these magazines. So, hey, can I give you thousands of dollars to include a link back to my client's website? Right. And so, you work so hard to kind of be trusted enough to publish articles on these type of platforms, that you don't ever want to jeopardize that. Yeah.
No. So you write for your own, like you just write your knowledge, your information. You don't write for clients or anything. You just write for
I don't have a PR company. There's no spin angle to it at all. It's just, I just write, I just share some of the lessons that I learn as a leader and as an entrepreneur on these platforms to help people from making the same mistakes that I've made. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Yeah. And, we always like to ask our guests what their inner superpower is that got them to this point.
Yeah. I think for me is, I don't take myself too seriously. It's obvious if you go to our website and you look at my bio, it says like I'm an Amazon Prime member and I'm not the CEO. You know what I mean? So I think, by not taking yourself too seriously and, laughing often, I think has been one of my superpowers, because we like to have fun at
awesome.
Hennessy Digital. And that's part of our DNA here. It's one of our core values is to have fun and not be a jerk. Right. And so, when you kind of have an environment like that and a culture like that, it becomes a fun place to work. And if we take care of our employees, right, and then they then take care of our clients, then that's a recipe for success right there.
Yeah, it is. Life is simple, easy, and fun, and that's whatever you believe inside is going to be the fact. So for you to have that happiness inside, was it always like this, or did you get some sort of training or help? Like, were you always had this superpower? Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think so. I think, as a kid, I was always, not taking myself too seriously. I'm a big energy believer.
Good, me too.
The energy that you give is very contagious, right? And so if you're walking around with a lot of positive energy, it's going to make your day that much bright. I feel like every day you wake up with like a full tank of energy, right? And you have the whole day to use it, right? And you can either choose to use it on negative energy or positive energy, right? You have that choice, right?
Your choice.
And the problem though is there's other people walking around with energy too, right? And so if you're a ball of positive energy and you come across too many people that are negative energy, it's contagious. It rubs off on you, and you have to be aware of that, right? I think just kind of having that in this, subliminally, like in the background of your head, understanding that is also a powerful, superpower, if you will.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Everything is energy, right? At this fundamental level. And we're a massive energy. We're always exerting and always letting go. And it's so true. The energy field is everything. You could go into a room or a party and all of a sudden certain people, they're off. And you just feel them, right? From far away. It's like, stay away.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's a very successful entrepreneur, runs a pretty big company, gave a story from stage at a conference that I was at recently, where he said that he had to go to a wedding, and he showed up at the wedding and he sat down at the table, and it's one of those things where you don't know who you're going to be sitting next to. You just kind of go, it's like, okay, table 5, right?
Yes.
Goes and sits down, and as soon as he sits down, this lady's complaining about the food, and then this other person's complaining about like their kids, and then the other person's complaining, right? And the other person's complaining about their life, right?
Yeah.
And he's been at the table for 15 minutes.
Oh
and
my
just
God, I feel bad for him.
I can't do this anymore. And he just walk up and laugh.
Good.
At the wedding, man. He's just like, I can't do this, right? So
It's so hard because I went to someone's house. Things are opening up. Everybody's meeting now. Everybody's getting vaccinated, right? So I went to a gathering, and it was just complete. It's unfortunate. I felt bad. Like I want to help, right? But it's just that the complete environment was just talking about things that really affect your vibrational being. It was just negative. It was down. It was lack. It was just so off. Luckily I always carry these with me. So I have these earbuds.
Okay.
I just put them in the ear and I put a book on,
Okay. There you go.
And I have some background music created, affirmations, if you may say, and I just play them like they're actual songs. So
wow.
As I create my own, just for my own use. I don't like anything. I like the music with them. Yeah. So it just brings me in that area, and then I can open up again. Really, it's about the strength of our mind, right? Are we able to control or stop that kind of energy or not, right?
Sure.
But definitely I'm glad, because as soon as you came on camera and I saw you, I felt that like right away, that you have a very uplifting energy, positive energy about you. And I'm grateful that I met you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that you came on the show. I definitely would love to stay more in touch. If anything I can help with, please let me know. I'm in Toronto, Canada. So
awesome. Very cool.
Definitely. And also, if there's anything that you want to share, like before I let you go, as last thoughts to any entrepreneur, self-employed professional, when it comes to SEO.
With regards to SEO, I'd say the biggest thing is to educate yourself, like learn enough about it so that you don't get taken advantage of. And whether you read my book, right, Law Firm SEO, or if you just go to YouTube and start to watch a couple videos, right? Because at the end of the day, there's three core principles of SEO, right? There's the technical integrity of your website, which is something that you probably are not going to learn if you're not a coder. But there's tools that you can check to make sure that your site is technically compliant to Google, right? So that's the first piece is the integrity of your website. The second piece is publishing content on a regular basis, making sure that the content that you publish satisfies the intent of what people are searching for. Like go back and actually read your content, and would you hire yourself after you read your content, right? And if the answer is no, well, guess what? People are probably not going to hire you either, right? And then the third piece is the popularity and, building, popularity by your website by way of backlinks. How can you get other people? How can you make yourself remarkable where people talk about you and they link back to you? Like, what can you do? And if you do those three things right, the integrity, the relevancy with content, and the popularity, that's the secret to SEO. I mean, there's really not much more to it.
I like the third one. That's a pretty big one.
Just be remarkable.
Yeah. That's awesome. And do you have any top 1 or 2 or 3 tools, your go-to tools for SEO for anyone that would like to, that you could recommend?
Yeah, I think the first one is a free tool by Google. It's called Google Search Console. I think, there's probably a lot of people that will listen to this that have never heard of that. And that's a bad thing. Because this is the only way that Google can have a two-way conversation with you. They can tell you when there's issues with your website. They can tell you if your website got penalized, right? So if you don't have it, then there's no way Google can communicate with you. So that's Google Search Console. The second tool is a tool called SEMrush, SEMrush. That's a great tool. It kind of gives you a good synopsis of how well your site is performing. It'll show you the different keywords that you're ranking for and which position you're in. And you can look at your competitors on that tool. So that's a great tool as well. And then the third tool, which is one of my go-tos, is one called Ahrefs, and it's spelled Ahrefs.com. And that's a good tool to do link analysis to see, what links do you have coming back to your website in comparison to your competitors, right? So that's an amazing tool as well. So those would be 3 that I think are mandatory for anybody that's serious about digital marketing.
That's amazing, Jason. Thank you so much for opening up, sharing this information. It's all about serving and providing value, and you're doing all those things. And thank you again for taking the time out to come on the show. And I genuinely wish you all the best, and stay in touch.
Likewise, and happy holidays to you and your family. And thank you so much for having me.
You too. Thank you, Jason.